I expected to feel anything. She was his girlfriend, young, radiant, confident. But then came the look, that long, deliberate gaze that lingered just a second too long, the kind of look that burned through silence and made me question everything. At first, I told myself it was harmless, but when her fingertips brushed mine in the kitchen and she didn't pull away, I realized the line had already been crossed. And the worst part, I didn't want to go back. I've always prided myself on being composed, disciplined, a single mother who built a life from scratch, who raised a respectful, smart young man. So when Jason came home from university and brought her with him, I greeted her the way any polite woman would greet her son's girlfriend. "Hi, I'm Naomi," she said with a smile too bright, too warm. "Nice to meet you," I replied, offering my hand. Her grip lingered, her eyes did too. Naomi was 21, confident, effortlessly magnetic, with that kind of energy that fills a room before she even speaks. Jason was clearly smitten. He held her hand at dinner, leaned into her shoulder when she laughed, looked at her like she was the moon. I tried not to notice the way she looked at me. At first, I brushed it off. I told myself I was being ridiculous. I was his mother, after all, and she was just being friendly. But that night, as I cleared the dishes, Naomi appeared beside me in the kitchen. "Let me help," she said, brushing a lock of hair behind her ear. "You're a guest. Relax," I replied. She smiled. "I like helping." We stood side by side at the sink, my fingers wet, hers dry, but when our hands met, as she reached for a glass, she didn't pull back. Neither did I. I felt it then, not just the heat of contact, but the silence that followed, the charged pause. Her eyes lifted to meet mine, and there it was. The look, not curiosity, not friendliness, desire. I stepped back. "Thank you, Naomi. I've got it from here." She didn't argue. She only nodded, slowly, like she'd seen something in my eyes too. I barely slept that night. I told myself it was exhaustion, or stress, or maybe just the strange feeling of sharing my home with someone new. But the next morning, it happened again. Naomi walked into the kitchen in one of Jason's shirts, long enough to hide whatever she wore underneath, short enough to draw attention. Her hair was tousled, her eyes still sleepy, and she smiled when she saw me sipping coffee. "Morning," she said. "Good morning," I replied, pretending to look at my phone. She leaned against the counter, just close enough for me to catch her scent. Something sweet and citrusy. You're up early, I added, trying to keep things casual. I couldn't sleep, she said. Too many thoughts. I risked a glance. She was looking at me again, the same way, like I wasn't just Jason's mom, but something else. A challenge, a question waiting to be answered. I stood to leave the room, needing distance. She took a step closer. I like mornings like this, she said softly. Quiet, intimate. Naomi, I said firmly, you should get back to Jason. Her lips parted, a half smile forming. You're right, of course. But I knew I wasn't imagining things anymore. That look had returned, and this time I felt it in my chest. That morning stayed with me like a scent on my skin. No matter how much I tried to rinse it away, Naomi's presence lingered. The air in the house felt heavier, more electric, and worse. I caught myself searching for her. Jason had gone out to run errands, leaving Naomi behind. She claimed she wanted to catch up on reading, but I noticed her sitting on the back porch, legs tucked under her, eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses. The same shirt from that morning, Jason's, now tied at the waist. She looked too at ease for a guest, too knowing. I opened the sliding door and stepped outside with a bottle of water in hand. I didn't speak. I just offered it to her. Thanks, she said, brushing my fingers as she took it. Her thumb lingered against mine, not long enough to be called anything, but just long enough to be remembered. I sat on the chair opposite hers. Jason won't be long, I said. I needed to remind her. Maybe remind myself, too. She nodded, I know. She leaned back, stretching slightly, as if showing off her body was an accident, as if she didn't notice how my eyes flickered away too quickly. He talks about you a lot, she said suddenly. Does he? I replied, carefully neutral. All the time, she smiled. Says you're the strongest woman he knows. I laughed lightly, trying to break the moment. Well, that's sweet. He's not wrong, she continued. But I think there's more to you than just strength. I turned to look at her. Naomi, she cut me off gently. Don't worry, I'm not saying anything inappropriate. Her voice was light, but her eyes burned. I stood. I should check on lunch. She followed me into the kitchen. Always so close, always just a step behind, as though she knew exactly how close was too close and never crossed it. Until she did. As I reached for a pan from the lower cupboard, she bent beside me, her hand brushing my lower back. Not hard, not accidental, just a touch, firm enough to be noticed, soft enough to be denied. I froze. "Sorry," she whispered. "Didn't mean to startle you." I straightened up too quickly, heart racing. "It's fine." She smiled again, that same slow, knowing curve of her lips. "You seem tense. Everything okay?" "Naomi," I said, setting the pan down, "you need to stop." "Stop what?" "You know what." Her expression didn't change. "I'm just being friendly." "No, you're not." We stood there, kitchen silent except for the hum of the fridge. She stepped closer, not touching, not quite, but enough to blur the space between caution and craving. "I think you feel it too," she said quietly, "but you're too afraid to admit it." I couldn't breathe. She leaned in slightly, her voice lower. "He doesn't see me the way you do, and I don't look at him the way I look at you." I stepped back, breaking whatever hold she had on the air itself. "I won't let you turn this into something it's not." Naomi tilted her head as if studying me. "Then stop looking at me like you already have." I wanted to scream, or cry, or laugh. Instead, I just walked out. But as I closed the door behind me, I didn't feel relief. I felt hunger. I tried to go back to normal, to pretend the words Naomi had whispered in my kitchen didn't echo every time I walked by her. But pretending only works when both people agree to play the game. That evening, Jason suggested a movie night. Naomi was curled up on the couch before I even sat down, her legs tucked neatly beside her, her eyes already fixed on me. Jason, sweet and oblivious, dimmed the lights and brought snacks. I sat on the far end of the couch, careful, measured. But Naomi chose the space right in the middle, close enough to touch him, closer to tempt me. She leaned her head on his shoulder, but her eyes kept flicking in my direction. Not by accident, not just once. Every scene, every silence, every brush of her fingers through her hair was a performance, and I was her audience. I kept my arms folded, my legs crossed, my eyes on the screen. But I could feel her, that magnetic pull, that dangerous warmth that only she seemed to carry. When Jason went to the kitchen to grab more drinks, Naomi shifted. Her back rested against the couch, one arm stretched along the top, behind me. Her voice was soft, nearly a whisper. "You're pretending this isn't happening." "I'm protecting my son," I answered, still staring at the screen. She leaned in slightly, her lips nearly brushing my ear. Are you protecting him or yourself? I turned to face her, finally. You're playing with fire. She smiled. Maybe, but I like the burn. Jason came back, oblivious as ever. Naomi shifted immediately, smiling up at him, planting a kiss on his cheek. She looked so innocent, so perfect. If I hadn't seen the truth in her eyes, I'd have believed it myself. Later that night, I went to bed early, or at least I tried. But sleep never came. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, heard her voice, felt her breath on my skin. Around midnight, I heard footsteps outside my door, soft, barefoot, hesitant. I held my breath. The door didn't open, but it didn't need to. I knew it was her, standing there, listening, waiting, maybe hoping I'd invite her in. I didn't move. The silence was thick, heavier than any words. Then the footsteps retreated, but the tension stayed. The next morning, Jason announced he'd be heading out to meet some friends. Naomi's gonna stay in and relax, he said. She likes your garden. Of course she does. As soon as the door closed behind him, I felt it. That shift in the air, the change in atmosphere. I walked into the kitchen and found her there, barefoot, leaning against the counter with a cup of tea in hand. You always leave the sugar out, she said. I ignored the comment and reached for my mug. Jason's gone for the day, she added. We have the house to ourselves. Naomi, please don't. She set her cup down and stepped forward. I'm not trying to hurt him. Then stop. I can't. Her voice cracked slightly. Not dramatic, not fake, just real, raw. I thought I came here for him, but everything changed the moment I met you. I closed my eyes. This is wrong. She reached out and touched my hand. Then why does it feel so right? I should have pulled away. I should have told her to stop again. But when her fingers found mine that morning, I didn't move. There was something about her touch. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't forceful. It was honest. Like she wasn't trying to seduce me anymore. She already had. And now she was just asking me to admit it. We stood there in the kitchen, neither of us breathing. Her eyes held mine with a kind of ache I didn't expect to see in someone so young. It wasn't just lust, it was longing. And maybe that's what broke me. Maybe I was just tired of being the strong one, the responsible one, the one who always said no when no one else could. Her thumb brushed the side of my hand, and I turned toward her, fully now. Naomi, I whispered, a final warning that even I didn't believe anymore. She stepped closer, so close that I could feel the heat radiating off her skin. Her hands reached for my waist, not hurried, not hesitant, just certain. Her lips parted, her breath brushing mine, and then it happened, the kiss. It was soft at first, a question, not a statement, an invitation, not a demand. But when I didn't pull away, it deepened. I felt her hand at the back of my neck, and for a second, the world disappeared. It was quiet, beautiful, and terrifying. When we pulled apart, the silence was louder than any kiss. I shouldn't have done that, I said, still breathless. She looked at me, eyes wide, searching. Do you regret it? I hesitated. Yes, but not for the reason you think. She tilted her head. Then for what? For how much I liked it. She smiled softly, like she'd been waiting for that answer. You don't have to lie to yourself anymore. I'm not lying to myself. I'm lying to everyone else. Before I could say more, I stepped back, grabbing my mug, needing to feel something ordinary in my hand. You need to leave, I said gently. Her face fell. You're serious? I have to protect him, even if I can't protect myself. She nodded slowly, fighting the disappointment. I'll pack my things. Naomi, I paused. Don't say anything to him, please. I won't. I'm not cruel. I watched her walk away, and with every step she took, I felt something in me collapse. A wall I had built for years, now cracked beyond repair. I went upstairs, shut the door, and cried. I cried not because I'd kissed someone I wasn't supposed to. I cried because that kiss made me feel more alive than I had in years. And because I knew I'd never feel it again. The day Naomi left, the house felt quieter than ever. Jason didn't suspect a thing. He just shrugged when she told him she had family stuff and needed to go back home early. He didn't ask questions. He trusted her. He trusted me. And that trust, it crushed me more than guilt ever could. I walked past her room after she left. It still smelled like her, citrus, vanilla, and something wild underneath. Her mug was still by the sink, her blanket folded on the couch, a bobby pin glinting on the bathroom counter, little pieces of her that hadn't left with her body. I told myself it was over, that what happened was a spark, fleeting, dangerous, and now, thankfully, extinguished. But I lied. Days passed, then weeks. Jason returned to school, and we barely spoke about Naomi. She said we should take a break. He mentioned once, avoiding eye contact. said she needed to figure things out. I just nodded. Maybe it's for the best. But inside, I was burning because I knew what she needed to figure out. And I was part of the equation. One rainy evening, I received an email. Subject line, "If you don't hate me, read this." It was from Naomi. I'm not writing to ruin anything. I just needed to say it, even if it never reaches your lips. What happened between us wasn't wrong because of how it felt. It was wrong because of when it happened, because he loved me. But I didn't love him the way I looked at you. You saw me, really saw me, and no one had ever done that before. I'll keep that kiss with me, not because it was forbidden, but because it was honest. I don't expect anything. I just hope that wherever you are, you think of it too, even if only when you're alone. I read it twice, then a third time, and then I closed my laptop and sat in silence, holding myself as if her arms were still there. Because the truth is, I did think of it more often than I should have, and not with regret, but with a quiet ache, the kind that reminds you you're still capable of feeling. Not long after, I caught myself looking at a woman at the grocery store. She smiled. I smiled back. For the first time in years, I let the glance linger. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I knew exactly what I had seen in Naomi. A mirror, a challenge, a beginning I wasn't ready for, but now couldn't unsee. Some people enter your life to teach you boundaries. She entered mine to remind me that I still had the power to break them. Some lines aren't meant to be crossed, but some kisses never fade. If this story stirred something in you, like, comment, and share your thoughts below, because secrets are meant to be told, even if only in whispers.